Commonwealth Avenue Mall is a grand alley of shade trees connecting the public garden to the Back Bay Fens and forming the central axis of the Back Bay. Inspired by Parisian boulevards and designed by Arthur Gilman, the mall was created between 1858 and the 1870s under the Back Bay Development Plan. From its inception, the mall has been a vital amenity for both residents and visitors. Winston Churchill once praised it as the grandest boulevard in North America. The first statue appeared in 1865 on the newly made land between Arlington and Berkeley Streets. The granite likeness of Alexander Hamilton was the gift of Thomas Lee, who also donated the Ether Monument in the public garden. Sculpted by physician William Rimmer, the work is not highly regarded for its artistic skill. Hamilton was a Revolutionary War soldier, a signer of the Constitution, and the first Secretary of the Treasury, serving under Washington. He was killed in a famous duel with Aaron Burr in 1804. His likeness can be seen on the $10 bill. Originally planted with American and European elm trees, the mall today is a mixture of hardy, large-scale shade trees. Today, the trees, statues, benches, and walkways are important elements of this historic park. Commonwealth Avenue and its mall were part of the bold plan to fill Boston's Back Bay, one of the greatest examples of urban planning in America, beginning in 1857 and continuing for nearly 40 years. Wide, straight, and paved with crushed stone, this noble central avenue was an immediate draw for promenades, carriage races, and parades, as well as a route to the open country. It served as a model for boulevards across America. Linking the parklands of the public garden with those of the Fens, the mall would come to form a precious link to Boston's Emerald Necklace. This street was the site of the grandest new mansions, setting a tone of elegance for the entire district. The houses had to be set back 20 feet from the property line, giving extra breadth to the 200-foot wide boulevard with its 2 roadways and central mall. The variety of building styles was unified by the trees on the mall. The architecture and planting reinforce each other in a unique and powerful way. The green corridor of the mall enhances and complements some of the country's finest examples of 19th century residential architecture. The original design for the mall did not include public art, but today there are 9 sculptures and memorials between Arlington Street and Charles Gate East, adding to the mall's distinctive charm and character. All the works are oriented to the east, facing toward the public garden, except for Leif Erikson, who gazes westward. The 1875 bronze and granite sculpture of John Glover was the work of Martin Milmore, who also designed the Soldiers and Sailors Monument on the Boston Common. General Glover led the Marblehead, Massachusetts Regiment of Fishermen who distinguished themselves throughout the Revolutionary War. It was Glover's regiment that saved Washington and his troops at the Battle of Long Island and, most famously, rode Washington across the Delaware River through ice and snow. Contrary to popular belief, Frederick Law Olmsted had nothing to do with the mall's original design. In 1880, however, he and Charles Sprague Sargent, his partner in creating the Arnold Arboretum, were asked for their advice on the tree planting patterns. They proposed removing the existing 4 rows of American and European elms and replacing them with 2 single rows of European elms. The city council rejected the proposal, however, fearing a public outcry. Olmsted did design Commonwealth Avenue west of Massachusetts Avenue, making a curving transition between the formal boulevard and the informal park at the western end. The work was completed in 1885, but the area later had to be redesigned. This block features two works of art. The bronze and granite memorial for Patrick Andrew Collins was created by Henry Kitson and Theo Alice Kitson in 1908 and moved from Charles Gate West, displaced by construction of the Boker Overpass, to this block of the Mall in 1966. An Irish immigrant, Collins rose to become mayor of Boston, serving from 1902 until his sudden death in 1905. Collins was such a popular mayor that funds were raised for this memorial only 6 days after his death. His bronze portrait bust rests on a granite base that is flanked by two allegorical figures representing his native land and his adopted country. The other memorial in this block, near Dartmouth Street, is the Vendome Firefighters Memorial, sculpted by Theodore Clausen with Peter White, landscape architect. It honors the 9 firefighters who died on June 17, 1972, when 4 floors of the Hotel Vendome collapsed after a raging fire. Dedicated in 1997, on the 25th anniversary of the fire, the memorial is an elliptical granite arch with a bronze casting of a helmet and coat resting on it. The former Hotel Vendome is located diagonally across the street. The seated bronze statue of abolitionist William Lloyd Garrison was sculpted by Olin Levi Warner and dedicated in 1886. Known as the Emancipator, Garrison came to Boston from Baltimore in 1831 and launched his anti-slavery publication, The Liberator, which he continued to publish until the abolition of slavery in 1865. He was also the founder, in 1832, of the New England Anti-Slavery Society. Hounded by angry mobs for his views, he was often in danger for his life. Garrison also supported the movements for women's rights, temperance, pacifism, and free trade. The statue of Bostonian Samuel Eliot Morison shows the maritime historian and avid sailor casually dressed and seated on a large granite rock. Morison was a Harvard professor and the foremost American maritime historian of the 20th century. An expert sailor, he retraced one of the voyages of Columbus across the Atlantic using the original logbooks as a guide. In 1964, Morison was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the country's highest civilian honor. His bronze figure was sculpted by well-known Boston artist Penelope Jenks and dedicated in 1982. Dedicated in 2003, the Boston Women's Memorial is the newest sculpture on the mall, donated with funds raised by the Boston Women's Commission. The effort began in 1992 when Mayor Thomas M. Menino reserved the Fairfield to Gloucester block as the site for a memorial honoring women. The commission worked for 10 years to select the subjects, choose the artist, raise the money, and oversee construction and installation of the memorial. The bronze figures, by New York artist Meredith Bergman, are at ground level, not on top of pedestals. The women are shown in casual poses, writing and thinking. The three women honored share a Boston connection, a place in national history, and a passion for social justice. Abigail Adams was the wife of the second President of the United States and mother of the sixth, whose letters established her as a strong voice for women's advancement. Phyllis Wheatley, an enslaved child brought from Africa to Boston, became a literary prodigy whose poems were the first book published in America by an African writer. Lucy Stone was an ardent abolitionist and suffragist, a renowned orator, and a leading figure in the struggle for women's rights, inspiring Susan B. Anthony and others. The bronze, stiffly posed statue of Domingo F. Sarmiento was signed by Yvette Compagnon and dedicated in 1973. Sarmiento, who served as president of Argentina, founded his country's education system, modeling it on the one developed in Boston by Haussmann. In appreciation, the Argentine government offered a statue as a gift to the city of Boston in 1913. The statue did not arrive until 60 years later, and finding a spot for it was problematic. The location on the mall opposite the former International Institute was finally agreed upon.